The Amp Research Power Step that we have here today is going to be a great option for all 21 and newer F-150 owners out there who'd like to go with a premium side step option that will offer the main feature or benefit of automatically deploying whenever the door is open and then automatically retracting whenever the door is closed. Now this is going to make for a much cleaner appearance overall. Now the Amp Power Step here will include a 6-inch aluminum step or board along with all of your brackets, motors, lights, and wiring, and can support upwards of 600 pounds per side. So when getting into the long list of features here with the Power Steps from Amp Research, and I would say the biggest again is the fact they are auto extending step when the door opens, but again automatically retracts whenever the door closes. Not only does this drop that step automatically, but it's also going to drop it much further or much lower than a traditional running board or even a set of drop steps. This is just going to make getting into and out of your stock or lifted F-150 much easier, along with making for a much cleaner look when the boards are not in use. That's because they're going to tuck up against the lower portion of the cab here, hiding that pinch weld. And again, it's kind of a side effect or side benefit of the steps themselves. Now, a couple more cool things to point out here, guys, is that the Amp Steps do feature what is called an anti-pinch technology, which basically is going to stop the step from closing if they detect any pressure at all. Now, as a father, I will say this is a nice little peace of mind for those of you with a family when using an automated board. Now, also, guys, Amp does include high-powered LED lights that install underneath the cab of your truck to illuminate not only the step itself here, but also the ground, and that's going to serve as a makeshift puddle light. Now, moving into the build and construction of the Power Steps from Amp, you're going to find the steps themselves are going to be made from extremely durable and lightweight black anodized aluminum. Now, I really like the black because, again, it does kind of help them disappear underneath the truck when they're all retracted back into the cab. And then again, visually, you really don't even see them when they're tucked out of the way. Now, if you did want to jazz things up a little bit, maybe you have a chrome package truck at home, well, Amp Research does sell an optional stainless steel trim kit that does make these things stand out a little bit more. Now, the steps themselves, as I mentioned earlier here, guys, 6 inches wide with a very grippy surface. It's going to offer a ton of space for one, but also a ton of traction from tip to tip. And that is another big benefit when we're talking about a running board design such as this. Also, guys, you're looking at upwards of 600 pounds per side capacity. That is one of the category leaders when we're talking about load rating per side with a Power Step. Now, as far as your moving parts are concerned, well, Amp does utilize some very high quality stuff here, guys, to ensure that these boards operate as intended for many years to come. This does include the stainless steel hinge points and maintenance-free self-lubricating bushings, keeping things moving no matter what. Now, Amp does utilize waterproof OEM quality electric motors and drive systems here, guys. Now, the boards are built in the USA and they do carry a 5-year or 60,000 mile limited warranty if you should ever encounter any issues. Now, your price point for the Amp Research Power Steps is going to hover right around $1,900 or so, which certainly is going to be pricey when compared to a traditional fixed side step, but not so much when we're talking about the category of powered steps, because the Amps basically are going to live in that same ballpark as the RBP boards, but both the RBP and the Amp Research that we have here today are going to be a little bit more dough compared to the E boards from Rough Country. So you do have a few options in the category when considering a powered board such as this, but just keep in mind they are going to be considerably more than your more traditional run-of-the-mill fixed steps. But as promised, now let's shift gears and get into the installation portion of this video. And honestly, guys, the side steps from Amp, they're gonna be a little bit more involved, as you might imagine, because you do have to run the necessary wiring and everything that goes along with it. Therefore, the site is gonna call this one a soft 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, about 3 hours to complete from start to finish. Now, to give you a better idea of just how things will go down at home, feel free to check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, wire strippers and crimpers, diagonal cutters, a T25 Torx driver, 13mm wrench, 3/16 Allen socket, and 10, 11, and 13mm sockets. What's up, guys? Today we're installing a set of power side steps on our F-150, so let's get started. Now, before we start installing anything onto the truck, we need to assemble our linkages first. We have our motor linkage, which has the gear, as well as our idler linkage that has no gear. Now you'll have one of these for each side. Now we have our motor and our cover plate. We're gonna put our cover on first, followed by our motor and then our 3 screws. So we have this little notch on the bottom of our cover, which we're gonna slide in and then press it down. And then we'll line up our 3 holes in our motor, slide that into place, and then drop our 3 screws in. And then we'll take a T25 Torx driver to tighten these down. And then we can do that same thing for our other motor linkage. So now we're ready to mount our 2 linkages. Now the one with the motor is gonna go towards the front, while the one without the motor is gonna go in the rear. We have 3 sets of 3 studs underneath of the truck. We're gonna be using the first and the last to mount these. We have 3 nuts for each one included in the kit, and I'll take a 13mm socket to tighten those all down. So now we'll start on the front, installing our linkage. Now the stud closest to the front, we're gonna wanna get our nut on first because we don't have a ton of clearance there. And now for this one closest to the front, we're gonna have to get in there with a wrench, so we don't have enough room for a socket. And then for the other side, we can use a 13mm socket. And the same for the top. Now we can do the same thing for our rear linkage and repeat the process on the other side. So now we're ready to start our wiring. I've got our harness kind of laid out across the engine bay, how it'll go. Now the side with the connector and the 2 sets of red and black wires is going to the passenger side. The side with the connector, 2 sets of black and red wires, as well as a set of purple wires is going to the driver's side. Now I've got our terminal connectors right here, right by our battery, so we can go ahead and connect those next. So the first thing we're going to do is pop our inline fuse out of place. We'll put that to the side for now. And then we can take an 11mm socket to remove the nut on our positive battery terminal. And then we'll slide our red wire onto there. And reinstall our nut, and then tighten that back down. Next, we can switch to a 10mm socket for our negative. And then thread our nut back on and tighten that back down. Next, we can take our passenger side harness and drop it down towards the floor. I'm gonna run it behind all of these harnesses just to keep it away from the engine. Next, we can install our 2 connectors into our controller. And I'll just tuck that away into the battery tray. Next, we can route our driver side harness over towards the driver's side. I'm gonna use these hooks on our cowl here. We can run a zip tie through there. And then use that to cleanly run our wire across and keep it away from our engine. I'll use a pair of diagonal cutters to cut the excess of the zip tie. Next, we can drop our harness down to the floor on the driver's side. Now we have these extra purple wires, so I'm just gonna tape these to our harness for now, just to make it easier to fish down in there. Now we're gonna have to run those purple wires into the cab so that we can connect them to our OBD connector. Now we'll have to pull up this door sill here and get underneath the carpet. There's a grommet that we can run those up through to get them into the cab. So now we can just pry up on this door sill trim. And then we can pull up on our carpet and we have that grommet right there that we need to remove. Now it's recommended that you drill a hole through the center of your grommet to be able to run your wires through. However, for demonstration purposes, we're not going to be doing this, so we're just going to leave our grommet out of the truck. So now we can grab our purple wires from under the truck and put them up and through that hole. And pull them through. And then I'm just gonna run these underneath this trim panel for now, and then we can reinstall our kick plate. Next, we can connect our OBD2 module to our 2 purple wires. So first, we're going to take some wire strippers to strip back some lead. And then we'll twist up that lead. And we're going to be using these posi connectors to make our connection. So we'll unscrew one side and put our wire through it, and then we'll screw on our connector, make sure it's nice and tight. Now this one's our solid purple wire, so it's going to be going to our other solid purple wire. And then we'll do the same thing for our purple wire with the black stripe. Next, we can come down underneath our dash, and we're going to be looking for this black connector right here. We'll press in the tab and disconnect that plug. Next, we're going to use our posi connectors to connect our white and blue wire into this harness. Now, the black end of our connector has a pass-through slot for our wires. We're going to be connecting to this white with green wire and this green with blue wire. So we'll slide our posi connector through the wire, and then we'll screw in the body of our connector. And then we'll do that same thing for our green and blue wire. And then we can unthread the red ends. Next, we can take our blue wire, twist up our lead, and slide the end of our connector over. Our blue wire is going to our white wire with the green stripe. And then our white wire is going to be going to the green wire with the blue stripe. Next, we can grab our connector and plug that back in. Next, we can plug our connector into our OBD2 port. And then I'm just going to take these wires and tuck them back behind this kick panel. Now we can go back underneath the truck. Now our longer set of red and black wires, we're going to take over our linkage here, as well as the shorter end. And then we'll grab our connector and plug that in to the connector on our linkage. Press that in until it clicks, and then there's this red locking tab on the side that you can press through. Next, we can zip tie our harness to this existing harness here. And I'll take a pair of diagonal cutters to cut off the excess of the zip tie. So now next we're going to be wiring up our lights. We have a power and a ground wire that's going to go to our harness. Now AMP wants you to drill a 19/64 inch hole through the pinch weld and then use this grommet to run your wires through. For demonstration purposes, we're not going to be doing this, but you would just need a 19/64 inch drill bit and a drill to get that done. So now we can take a pair of wire strippers to strip back some lead on our harness. And then we're going to be using the butt connectors included in the kit. So we'll twist up that lead and slide our connector on, and then use a set of wire crimpers to crimp that down. And we'll do the same thing for our other wire. Now we already have some lead on our light, so we're just going to twist up these wires. We'll connect the red to the red, crimp that down, and then connect our black to the black. And crimp that one down. Now we can repeat the same process for the rest of our lights. So now we can grab the light and peel back our double-sided tape backing. And then we can mount our light to the pinch weld. And then we can take a zip tie up top here. And then we can run our wire through to clean that up. Tighten down our zip tie and cut off the excess with a pair of diagonal cutters. Next we can mount our rear light. So I'm just going to run our harness back along our frame and then take a zip tie and loosely tighten it to these brake lines. And then take a pair of diagonal cutters to cut off the excess. Next we can mount our rear light. So once again, we'll pull the backing off and then get this up into place and stick it down. And now once you're done with your wiring on this side, you can repeat that whole process on the passenger side. So now that we have our wiring finalized, we're finally ready to mount our side step. Now our linkage with the motor attached to it is in the up position. We need that to swing down so that we can install our step. So we're gonna go pop that inline fuse back in by the battery. I'm gonna have a buddy open the door to have that linkage come down, and then I'm gonna pop the fuse out. Then we can get our side step installed, put our bolts back in, put our fuse in, and we'll be completely done with the install. So now I've got my fuse. We have our inline fuse spot. So we can plug that in, and then you can open the door. That'll bring the motor down. Now we'll pull this out, and we can go install our side step. So now that both of our linkages are in the down position, we can install our step. We have these two mounting brackets that we're going to be inserting our screws through. So we'll line those up, place our step down, and then we can install our hardware. So now once we have everything lined up, we can grab the Allen bolts included in the kit with a 3/16 Allen socket and thread those into that bracket. And then we can throw our socket onto a ratchet and tighten those down. And then we can do that same thing on our rear bracket and repeat the whole process on the other side. Now, since we had our door open when we removed our inline fuse, you want to make sure that your door is open now. Then we can put our fuse back in, and then once we close our door, our steps will come up. Press our fuse into place, close the cap, and then we can go ahead and close our doors. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Amp Research PowerStep running boards, plug and play for your 2021 and newer F-150. Thank you for watching, and for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.